Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the workshop of the Board of County Commissioners. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Again, welcome, everybody. The first thing we have on our agenda is a supplemental budget request for Road S, Haycamp Chip Seal, and Miss Harris, would you come forward? You can stand, you can sit, whatever is most comfortable.
Good afternoon. My name is Katherine Harris. I am here to represent the Road Department today for two items that we have on the agenda. Our first item on the agenda is a supplemental budget request in the amount of $30,725 for the chip seal for Road S that goes from Highway 184 up to the Haycamp pit. This road receives a lot of very heavy truck traffic, therefore it receives a lot of heavy damage. This year it did become prudent that we make more repairs to this road. We weren't expecting this, of course, for it to be in our budget that we proposed last year. So we will need to request supplemental funds to help us replace those funds that we used.
Okay. Cool. Do you have any questions? I've got one question, and this is related but not really related. But what does it cost us nowadays for a mile of chip seal? Do you have that?
I don't have those figures on me.
Can you get those figures for us?
Absolutely.
And then what are we paying right now for one tanker full of oil?
I don't have that information either. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Rob had to be out of town today.
Well,
So he's like,
Rob.
Kathy, you're it.
He's got a lot of questions to answer.
Okay.
So is this the same area that we paved and then they just chip sealed over it?
So we actually, the chip seal went right off of the cattle guard starting at basically Aspen Wallwood.
Yeah.
And it went all of the way to the turn that goes up to the gravel pit.
Right.
So it's like,
And that road, like I
3
say, with all
miles?
the heavy trucks that are on there, constantly damaging that road. Part of it is paved, part of it's got 2 layers of chip seal. We had 2 3/10 sections of chip seal that were just not repairable anymore, so we ground those up a year or so ago. So what we did this time was those 2 areas that were ground, we put 2 layers of chip seal on that to bring it back to the level of the road. And then we put 1 layer over the top of everything, that 2-mile section, to even up all those changes from asphalt to chip seal to ground to da-da-da. So that 3rd layer will hopefully hold it for a while.
so the part that we did 2 years ago, I believe, the asphalt, that's the 1 coat of
Right.
chips.
And we did put 1 layer of chip seal over that, like I say, to even up all the unevenness in that area of the road.
So that went from the bottom, from the bridge, basically up to the first cattle guard, where not quite to the cattle, there's no cattle guard there now. There used to be a cattle guard there, but
Yeah.
4 states aggregates. So I was just curious. I'm just wondering what our elevated costs are for oil and.
I've looked at those numbers, but it's been so long ago now, I wouldn't want to quote them.
Okay. Well, if you could
But we
find
can
out.
definitely get that information for you.
All right.
Where is this money gonna come from?
I think what they were asking, we could use this out of our RIF, I believe. I think when I read that, I think that's what you were asking for, correct?
Yes. To come out of the road impact fees.
Anything else on that one?
I don't have anything else.
All right,
Alrighty.
well, then we'll go to bullet point number 2.
The second item on our agenda is our request for proposal for engineering services for our Highway 184 Road 25 realignment project. We received 4 bids, 4 very nice bids from very qualified engineering companies for this project. We then developed criteria to look for when we went through each bid individually to make sure that each company understood the services we were requesting, what our needs were, and that they would be able to meet these needs. And that would be the next page, if you could scroll down one. There you go. So as you can see, as we went through each of the bids, these are all for very reputable companies. They would all do very good work for us. And basically what it boils down to is now the price that they're going to charge us for these services. This is one of those rare instances where the company with the low bid is actually a very reputable company and would do a very good job. So that was kind of nice. So we respectfully request that we award the bid to Bechtold Engineering.
What was their final cost? 145,534.
Yes.
34.
And I think Bechtold did all of our engineering for us on the bridge, right?
On the bridge, they did.
Alkali Bridge.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have some really good bidders on this one.
We had some very good companies. JR Engineering is out of Colorado Springs. SEH, Short Elliott Hendrickson, which also did the engineering for our DOLA projects.
Mhm.
They and Bechtold are out of Durango. And then Jones and DeMille are a new company to Cortez.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like we have a apparent low bidder, and we can deal with this tomorrow.
All right.
All right. Questions at all, sir?
No, I don't have any.
Okay.
I do have a copy of the resolution for you for tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you've looked that over too, Ian?
I did.
Okay. Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Yep. All right. Mr. Dietrich, it looks like you have the next two. So we'll look at a Montezuma County Town of Mancos Intergovernmental Agreement for a Cooperative Planning Area.
Very good. Guess we got it here. Yes, so gentlemen, this is a part of the IHOP planning grant that we received a couple of years ago. And as a part of the agreement that we made with DOLA, we were supposed to adopt one of about 15 qualifying strategies. We didn't really have any of the qualifying strategies that seemed to fit us very well. So they had one last category, which was other novel, innovative, and creative approaches. And so that is where we have come down. I've talked with DOLA, and they have agreed to accept an IGA between the county and municipalities in place of one of the qualifying strategies. So that essentially basically fits in the place of one of those. So we've talked to all three municipalities in the county. Town of Mancos was agreeable to assigning this IGA, and basically it defines the way our planning departments work together within kind of a defined area. And Jim, you may have a map of that IGA. I think the commissioners have seen it. But it is basically it lies all within that 1 mile area of influence. And the idea of this was really to kind of pick an area that we thought probably we're going to see the most amount of action, if we see any action proposals that come through within that area. And so we've already got an IGA set up with the municipality, so this really kind of updates that IGA and it helps us really kind of focus on any development proposals that come in within that 1 mile area. And so that's, in a nutshell, what we're after here. The town of Dolores has been, so they have all this. They've been so far unresponsive on this. The city of Cortez is interested in this. They have told us they don't want to pursue this until they get done with their code revision. So right now, all the action is with the town of Mancos. And again, the town of Mancos felt like they were comfortable with this. So I'm just going to bring this to the commissioners, and if the county feels comfortable with this, then I would request a signature on this tomorrow, and we'll send this on then to the town of Mancos.
So looking at this IGA, James, on the item number 1 is the IGA policy, which is the policy.
Correct?
Wait, you went too far, Mr.
Where at?
Go back up, or down, sorry. Right there, the goals. Yeah, so The process of cooperation between the town and the county to manage the land uses, what does that mean? The town and the county to manage the land uses, does that mean our land use code? Because the way I read it is our land use code, if it's in the county, is still supersedes the towns.
That's correct.
So
No?
You-
I've got a comment on this
Okay.
whole thing. I don't know if you want to keep on. This was confusing to me, honestly, when I read it, because our land use code defines what happens within the 1 mile zone of influence and 3 mile zone of influence. That's also defined by statute. And, I mean, to me, this IGA read like, well, we're going to cooperate with Mancos. Well, we already do.
That's why I'm asking.
And so I'm not really sure why we need this piece of paper that outlines certain responsibilities. I mean, have we had issues? I mean, I understand we're like trying to check this box for this planning grant.
Yeah.
But to me, this creates more red tape. It creates the possibility of, hey, we signed this thing, and then all of a sudden, what happens if the town of Mancos comes and they're not pleased with the way that we're cooperating with them? Well, now we've got this IGA that says we're going to cooperate with them. Well, we already do pursuant to our land use code. And so to me, this document just sets up something that's could create potential for conflict in the future when really there's no need for this. It's already defined by statute. It's already defined by our land use code. We always send notice of our planning and zoning things to the towns when it's within the zone of influence. And so, to me, this paper could just be something that could be a thorn on our sides later on. I guess that's what I'm looking at from a legal perspective.
And that's kind of where I was going to when I started with the very first question was, even though we cooperate, which we do right now, we coordinate, cooperate, and communicate. We do all three of them. But the land use in the county is still the land use in the county. So I don't want it to be thinking that, okay, within this 1 mile zone, that you would now be falling under all of the township of Mancos, because I think that's it'd be confusing to a property owner if they were currently there or looking.
Well, we can't do number 6. How can you do that? How can you sit here and sign that?
Around the
And say you're gonna
town.
preserve agriculture land and open space around that town? I can't do that. I'm not telling those landowners around there that they can't subdivide and they can't do their land because
To me, this just creates something that could come back and bite us later on. I mean, our responsibilities within the 1 mile and 3 mile zone of influence are set out in statute. They're set out in our land use code. This is just a bunch of extra language that later on, if there's some kind of a disagreement between the county and the town could come back and say, well, we've got this IGA and the county's not cooperating with this IGA and we expected cooperation with this IGA, and then they're going to be upset. And they're going to have some kind of a leg to stand on.
So, question, how do we deal with the existing IGA? Are we not in the same position?
I mean, I think to an extent we are, but I don't know when that was signed. I don't remember when that was signed. I don't even have a copy of it. And so,
Yeah, I think everybody's raising really good questions about this, for sure. So this is, again, it kind of supplements the existing IGA. Maybe what we should do is take a look at the existing IGA and
Compare 'em.
stack them up, compare them side by side. And, if there's something to move forward with this, then great. And if not, then, that's fine too. I mean, we've got some other options. I mean, we could adopt one of these qualifying strategies. And I mean, I've said all along, maybe we just adopt one of these meaningless, I mean, they're all meaningless from my perspective anyway. But we could adopt something like promote sub-metering utility charges for affordable housing. You stick it in the land use code, it does absolutely nothing. But it does check
this is
the box.
this is the overarching problem with getting these grants from these state agencies, because they throw the money out and then they rope you in and they make you adopt all these strategies, and then they've got you in a noose.
Yep.
And they keep you in that noose.
Yep. Not only that, but they make you pay money to get your money back.
It's,
So every time, that meeting that matching requirement is always difficult and always a hard time anyway. Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, then, why don't you sit down and, okay, you're not terminated today, you got another 24 hours.
I'm happy to look at this, but honestly, this is probably something that's gonna require a lot of coordination with our planning and zoning department, with Mancos's planning and zoning department. I mean, if we're gonna try to put something like this in, we probably need all the players at the table. And, most importantly, and James, I'd love to get a copy of the old IGA from you, but most importantly, we have to understand that the unincorporated part of the county is the unincorporated part of the county.
Yeah.
And we have certain statutory obligations within the 1 and 3 mile zone of influence, but we still run the show. And so when we start to sign these sort of IGAs that all of a sudden
Take it away.
give the towns more leverage than they already have per statute, it doesn't really serve our purposes. It doesn't really benefit the county.
Right. Okay. Get the other one, put them side by
Okay,
side.
that sounds
let's
good. And
compare 'em, and then we'll talk about it
just to let the
again.
commissioners know, I asked for an extension on this. We're not up against any kind of a hard deadline.
Okay.
We can work through this. So. Okay, the other
Well,
one.
That's good to know, because I can tell you right now, from my point, every time we get stuck up against a hard deadline, we're not playing that game.
Yeah, totally understand, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
All right.
the next one, I believe, will be much easier. So we've seen this come through virtually every year since I can remember, and this is just a simple request from the U.S. Forest Service to apply for the CPW Motorized grant. They have 3 projects that they're planning to work on this year: the Twin Springs Trail project, the Dozer 25 project, and we see that one every year, and also the Good Management Trail Crew 22, and that we see that every year. So in a lot of ways, this request is almost exactly identical to the ones we've seen year after year, with the exception that they're planning to put more effort into the Twin Springs Trail project for this year.
Question?
I don't have any.
Okay, much easier.
Okay, very good. Glad to hear that.
All right, James, thanks.
You bet. Anything else from the commissioners for me today?
No,
Okay.
I don't have anything.
Okay, sounds good. We'll catch up soon on everything then.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow.
Got it.
All right, well, with that, that's all we have for our workshop today. Short, sweet, and to the point, and we are adjourned.